understand she?
You understand? We are close yet?
Where you find the camera yet? I see it all. I see it, but your mic and all off. Aye, aye. Aha. Now the mic off.
He inside.
Are in there?
Yeah, man.
Right.
Are in there?
Yeah.
You're
Right,
right.
good. Are
Yeah,
you know?
a futuristic background.
Elizabeth.
What color jersey is that Dennis have on there?
You understand?
That looked like a flesh color
I
jersey.
thought my top was nice.
Yeah, we just don't know on this either dinosaur, you know. Yeah.
Okay, Marcus, when you're ready, you go ahead.
All right, well, I see it on the live. You just have one person inside. You want to hold on a little bit, or are we ready to jump in?
You can hold for 5 minutes. The show is yours. Do what you're doing.
On your personal page or on the 1990 page?
It's on both.
All right.
Well, let me share it too on mine. What we could do.
Let me do it. All right, good. Okay.
Deborah.
Yes, sir.
Deborah.
If we could start throwing some music then. Let me start with some music so that we'll know something going on.
All right. What you want me to play first?
Play anything. You have about 50,000 calypso. You have since 1912 they recorded. We go in.
Let me start with Pretender. What caused the coup?
Start with Pretender, okay.
Yeah.
Production boy. All right. Okay, we're not ready. We ain't good at light yet. We go solve the light problem.
Yeah, man, Dennis. You're looking slow ready there, no, man.
I ready-ish. I have to organize my lighting. Yeah.
Year after year I've been singing about the state of the nation. Serious messages I have been bringing, but they paid me no mind. They gave me no attention. It must be said it's precious so young. Want to tell me how to run the nation, but my grandmother always say, if you're playing hard, you're gonna feel one day. You know that people was only waiting for the sparks to ignite. Too much pressure and suffering, so they couldn't care less what was wrong or right. They started looting and burning, pandemonium hit the land. But then you must understand that a hungry man is an hungry man. The people voted for a new government in 1986. Big celebration and merriment. All of them say, well, no, matter fixed. So they were waiting in anticipation for the benefits of the reconstruction. Instead was pressure and hardship was so. I warn them someday, people gonna explode, they won't believe me. And all the time people waiting for the sparks to ignite. They put children suffering, so they couldn't care less what was wrong from right. From vagrants to civil servants, I tell you, all of them in the band, believe me, like it was a plan. You see, a hungry man is an hungry man. meek and humble. One love was the slogan, Mama Guy in the paw, unsuspecting people. But from the time they put them in power, they cut down the salary and drag with the cola and leave their big shot friends in society, the supreme rulers of the economy. And that is why all them people was waiting for the sparks to ignite. Fed up with his suffering, so they couldn't care less what was wrong from right. I saw Chinese, Portuguese, and Syrian, some Indian and two fellas from Pakistan, looting from big fridge to frying pan. You see a hungry man is an hungry man. Something happened in Parliament. Well, that was big bacchanal for sure. I heard they pull down two of them trousers to do what with them. I really don't know. They say that when the trousers drop by the knee, they start to smile with glee and expectancy. Don't ask me, I can't say
Yeah,
nothing.
man.
Me know if they get where they looking for. I know that people was waiting for the sparks to ignite. Can't take on this suffering, so they couldn't care less what was wrong from right. Them big boys get a message from the divine master to clear the way. Now their days are over, and most of all they must understand that a hungry man is an hungry man. When I heard all you calling for the encore, it's very gratifying to know the audience appreciate British Calypso. I love people with Calypso sense, and you are such a beautiful audience. Tell your friends for first class entertainment, come and hear Pretty and the Mascan.
And this is where we have the opportunity to say good evening and to welcome all our viewers on Zoom and those who join us live on the World Wide Web via Facebook or whatever medium, may it be that you're on your phone, your laptop, your computer. Good evening and welcome to the third edition of Coup and Kaiso. The Coup and Kaiso number 3. My name is Marcus Baptiste. Good evening again. I am joined, or we have on the panel, we have Mr. Zeno Constance, Omari Ashby, Dennis Hall. These gentlemen, we will have the opportunity to go through and discuss a little bit of Kaiso this evening. The Coup and Kaiso is all part of the 1990 project, a way that we will look at ourselves 30 years after the coup and consider our healing. How have we healed? How have we moved on as a people? And the thing is, some of the answers inside the Kaiso. So, ladies and gentlemen, we will open up the forum a little later on. We'll take questions. For the last two sessions, we started discussing in words and in song, looking at what was one of the reasons behind the coup. Where the coup come from? Why the coup? What was our political, our economic state at the time? And the thing is, Kaiso properly well documents that journey up till 1990. So tonight's session, we label it as Lootin and Shootin. That's what we were faced with, that ill-fated 1990, that July 27, that Friday evening. So allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce once more the panel: Zeno, Dennis Hall, Omari Ashby. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, good evening.
Are you sure we're the right people for this, man?
We go find out tonight.
At 30 years, I was only about 3 years old, you know. Because at 30 years, I was only about 3 years old. I might have been 40, but in terms of understanding of the thing, I wasn't part of the, I was part of the lumpen, you know. So that what's saying is that they have nobody in the firing line. And I think this was the reason that they had a whole, an inquiry with the same people who was lying down flat in the Red House. We couldn't get nothing out of them. That was an inquiry in futility. But now that all of them, what we want is people who was there, but wasn't there. You understand? Like me, so I was in Canada. I could tell you all the ramifications and so on. But I hold it thing like Stalin, me, you know. Since Stalin was doing reconstruction, that was an important calypso to me. Find out what action really caused the confusion before we could start to talk about it. And just that before we could start to talk about reconstruction. And that is my point. The problem here is that I think the 1990 project, unfortunately, start in the middle. The only thing the 1990 project could do is to explain the 1990 inquiry. It can't do nothing else with this, because the point is that all we have is the what happened on the street, and it wasn't have Friday when they was going to discuss culture, so it didn't have no Calypsonian in Parliament. And in any case, all of we who know tonight on this thing here is lovers of Calypso. So it's only we that know all these things talk. You understand what I'm saying? So that we in a society adrift too long. If we can't sit down and discuss what happened, this 1990 project have to dovetail into the 1970 project to understand how the people who was running the thing get to how they reach the thing. Me, you know, as a student I have been a student of sense. I have a problem with I think we sit down here and expecting and showing.
Well, the thing, Dennis, I'm being informed and just reminded, and when you look back at Trinidad's history, all our uprising will dovetail into what it is. And when I say all our uprising, we're not really known as that people for much uprising, but we have some notable dates and times to remember. We would have had the 1990, the 1970 we would have in the 1930s, you would have...
Yeah. But the point I'm making is...
Going back to Canberra, 1881.
We ain't spending enough time between things. That is, we had to get down to detail of what happened between 1970 and 1990. We had to talk boom, bust, political chicanery. We had to talk. You know what I'm saying? The problem is that we only discussing you discussing the events as events. The events are not events. The events are developmental and incremental. And I am saying that 1970 to 1990, we have to zone in that 20 years to find out how we go from 1970 to 1990. That is the crux of the matter. It don't make no difference. It don't make no difference. Before 1970, the change was so vicious in 1970 that we never went back there.
Right.
You understand?
We have Kaiso, and we have stuff to look at, and we will examine.
That belly is the crucial thing here. Not simply, I mean, it escalated between 86 and 90, but it didn't wake up a morning paradise 85 and 86 we turned stupid. You understand? We was going stupider and stupider. And we end up fully stupid in 1990. But we have to discuss. Zeno, you better than me in this section. Me too good in this, but all you understand better than me.
Well, it's an amazing thing, eh? Tallish tell me in 90-something that during the period of the NAR, he couldn't get no vibes to write no calypso and thing because the NAR was in power. I reflected that in my mind and say, but that didn't bother me at all. I write Dragon Slayer Dream in 1990. I think Pretender make that point. Eh? I mean, a hungry man is an angry man, but he was hungry because of the NAR. The Calypso didn't want to go further back than that to blame the pre-NAR posse. So we stick it right inside there. And Coco make the same point. Right? So in a very narrow way, we say whatever happened there was a result of the activities and the stringent measures taken by so-called stringent taken by the NAR. So I think they went further back than that. They want to go further back.
The problem is that not they want to go further back because the shame, because after you can't blame Robbie and start nothing. Robbie, as a matter of fact, Robbie started by coming off the sailing boat to go up into Tobago election in 56. That's when Robbie starts stupidness. So that at that point, he said, I tell Dr. Williams, he's mad. If you feel mad, you can't decide he's mad after you get all the way after Hamlam and Jam, then you get him know he's mad. Plus two, the problem is not that. The problem is that the Calypsonian Tallish and them mustn't get no vibe because the whole country was PNM. And the point is that 1990 is joke to what happened in 1986. And that is what people are not understanding. So that all happened, the dregs were half killed we after 86. But
so gentlemen, I mean, just to zone it in, and especially if we would have younger folks listening. When I say younger folks, like
who was three like me. You mean like who was three like me?
Yeah. People who was three like you. People who born on and around 1990. But before we jump in further, well, I know Zeno, you made your contribution. Dennis, you start off. Omari, tell us something now and to kick us off for this evening.
He was born.
I mean, the theme we were looking at this evening, Lootin and Shootin.
I could have about 3-2, right? I must be about 2.5, right? But what I think we could examine, because Sprang was right to say that I know that we're in a position to discuss some of them things that wider, but what we could look at is the response of the Calypsonian. I think at the top of the program, Zeno mentioned it too, we had the Pretender playing, and he was speaking, outlining some of the social issues that through his eye he was seeing that would sort of precipitate the 1990 coup. And I mean, when you hear the trigger, plenty of people, there's a plenty different trigger, because I remember when I was small, I hear was a statue for Jean Miles. I hear was what happened with the policewoman that get killed. I hear was the land. And maybe it could have been all them things, right? That kind of incrementally add up to tip the scale, because if we're saying from 70 to 90 is where the thing, it will be building. So I would like to see going forward, like we have been examining, what Kaiso had to say about that period of the coup itself, you know?
All right. Now, plenty food for thought. tonight feeling different. Tonight feeling different because we come and expand, we fan out the whole thing. Zeno, I see you have something to add there.
I was saying Sprang older than me. Aye.
So you would have been 4, you would have been 2.
I'm with it. But I'm trying to remember the looting of 1970, since this is part of the topic today. We know of the Calypsonians, many Calypsonians. I have some of them lined up there. But then we have look at the looting. I mean, Contender and Shadow. Look at the actual looting. But I'm trying to remember if there was actual looting in 1970. I don't think it had.
No, it didn't have. I was part of the people pelting stone at Showcase. Although I was 2 or 3. But I'm saying that I have said that almost 1970 was a romantic coup, you know. My 1970, it wasn't a coup where people wanted to kill the government. 1970 was a coup or uprising where the people wanted to be heard. The people, the belief, the pressure they was getting, they find it was bigger than the government. And the government understood and wanted to do what them do. They feel they would have get somewhere. So 1970 was a kind of romantic sociology. Wasn't, but this coup now was in effect that it didn't have nobody marking time in the people place so that we could thief a thing or two. But 1970 we didn't loot. We pet Big Stone at Showcase. I remember I pet a clay block at Huggins and the gas case won't break.
In that, you're saying that the 1970 didn't have any looting. Would beg to question where people get the idea of looting from.
From Abu Bakr, I tell we don't loot. Abu Bakr say, hey, all you don't loot, eh? Remember, the police can't work. They ought to get a state emergency to get the orders to around the place and to do that. Don't loot. Abu Bakr. Nobody didn't go and loot. They started loot. What up the burn down police headquarters and man coming down and started thief, you know. The instructions came.
According to the information we have at hand, who is the car bomb that started the fire in the police headquarters?
Yeah. Well, that's a simultaneous thing to him. Remember, Abu Bakr and then went to the TV station and who went in Red House. And they blow up police headquarters, so the police can't come for them. But in an emergency situation, which is what that would have been, a police can't simply be a normal police. You had to get there is a riot act that the police under different or commanding orders, like they on the road then. You understand? It have precept and thing. It have your emergency powers. Therefore, during that time, Abu Bakr, who was a police for long years, tell all you don't loot. Now, don't loot mean if nobody didn't go in and loot, most people are frightened. Most people are looking for taxi out of town. The advice not to loot. Because when they tell you talk looting, yes.
To go and loot.
Yes.
Well, I've heard it said that was the signal for real. That up until that point, people didn't have the idea in their head.
No, nobody didn't loot. Nobody had bought nothing either.
It was don't loot.
Don't loot.
The light bulb went off and they say, that's what we're dealing with.
And jump in the thing.
I think that happened in Port of Spain. And I think it fan out from there, you know, and we would hear about many of some of the and it's weird. One of the things that always comes up is how the Trinidad psyche does deal with things, because in that looting, you find that people will select the funniest parts of it to deal with. Yeah. You know, the fact that a man, you know what I mean? I see a car full of men, right? With a fridge on top of it. But they had no rope. So everybody had a hand out the window, trying to hold the fridge while the man driving. I don't know how far they reach. And you'll find you have many of them stories.
Yeah, I see a man be back in a belly skirt, picture in the Guardian. Man be back in a belly skirt, tote in a fridge. I told boots a belly skirt, be back.
You know?
And tote in a four-bone.
I want to juxtapose the things that we pull out of the looting with let me say the recent looting and thing that would have happened in the US, and how them deal with it in terms of the language and thing they speak with it about. So I don't know what it is in the Trinidadian psyche that does allow we to find the humor in some of the most dread thing, you know?
Is that kind of thing, I think Dr. Rowell has called black humor, you know. It's so sad that you might as well laugh, you know.
But gentlemen, as we talk in Kaiso too this evening, and we on the topic of looters, I see we have a Kaiso entitled appropriately Looters by the Lamo. So if we could take in a little bit of
fling the thing. Fling the thing.
As let's see how he addressed that looters topic.
Very interesting. The Lamo take a strange, very interesting view of the whole thing. But his shadow and contender, I think, that have direct looting on the street. Right, it's rich. All right.
Don't ask me to whine. He come from the Southland. Put your hands together and bring on stage Franz Lamkin Del Amo.
As far as I see, the events follow in July 27 revealed these facts to me. People came out in condemnation, asking why police didn't shoot, expressing their indignation for the people who loot. But check out your history book and then come back and tell me if we should prosecute them looters or record them in history. Because more than Hawkins came down here, loot, burn, plunder, immortalized in our history books. We give them chapter after chapter. Like a lantern, the mic, you have to balance it looted the town of Nombre de Dios on the Isthmus of Panama. In 1572, he ambushed a Spanish mule train loaded with Peruvian silver. He was the second man after Ferdinand Magellan to sail around the world. But he did it to loot Pacific ports, to thief unguarded Spanish gold. And after all this man loot and thief, in 1581 the Queen said he damn right. On board his flagship, the Golden Hind, Elizabeth I made him a knight. You see, Morgan, Francis Drake, loot, thief, plenty booty. Just like the looters still left, burning down your store, looting your microwave and TV. And Sir John Hawkins was no better, a ruthless slave trader. And as the Navy's treasurer, he was a bold-faced bribe taker. And that is the truth, you can't refute this brainwash history, misleading we youth. And when your big institute idolize them brute, people in parliament could get shoot. Hey, hey.
So we had a little bit of Franz Lamkin Dilamo with one entitled Looters. As Zeno was saying just before we got into the song, Zeno, and if you could continue, Dilamo really take an interest in Dilamo sell out all who loot, you know?
Now, well, he put it in a historical perspective, showing up the colonial powers who say you mustn't loot, but I'm used to loot. I don't know how much sympathy he had for the looters, but it had a little bit of sympathy there.
No, but the other point is that if we take cognizance of what we teaching in history in 1970, he couldn't write that, because we would have be clear that them fellas that England thing anyway. Britannia rose the waves.
Yeah.
So that you understand. So that I think they negate. And then the point I was making that the Lamo proved my point that all the argument they're going to make for the looting, we reached to that because in 1970, the thing we wanted to clear up, we study that, we get politically savvy and start to discuss democracy and all kind of jackass thing, and put black girl in bank and feel that we win. But that wasn't the point. The point is that they're teaching we to talk correct English, but they ain't touching the history.
Yeah, that is
You understand? And that's the 1970 thing that we didn't correct, that come back to 1990 anyway. Even at a historical level. So that's why the Lamo Calypso is based on the fact that we lost it in 70. So the thing we didn't correct come back to 1.
We just before we went into the song, Omari mentioned, and I just want to pivot off that point about the humor, like how we laugh. I mean, and every time you hear Lootin stories, to me it's always a funny story. You know, a man thief a microwave and plug it in and say he ain't getting the channels on it. You know, and the numerous stories about the Lootin would be always, you know, like we laugh it off. I see.
No. The problem is that the mistake you're making is the men and them who's singing the humorous story. That's not the point they're making. You know, they're making they say, look how serious thing, how we stupid. That's what them saying. You know, them are saying that is a joke. You know, them saying, look how serious thing, how we stupid. That's what they're saying. And we even study what stupidness we doing. You understand? Because we really mob rule. And that's what's happening because they see they have no leader. The correct question, the best person in parliament is who is the leader. They rarely have. So that when them fellas make a thing and we laugh because it's shame, you know. But them fellas pointing out to we the stupidity of we ways. So don't write it off as we just take things to make joke. Write it off as we just go from the ridiculous to the sublime to prove the point that nothing we do in a hand no sense. It's based on nothing. They can go correct nothing. That's the point. That's why but it's from the ridiculous to the sublime. Farce and satire, that's what it is. It's not joke. You understand? That you have to be particular with Calypso, you know. That like Spoiler. Spoiler was a master that when Spoiler sing about Oman police, they see how he prophesied that they go have Oman police in Trinidad. He sing because it had Oman police in Panama and it didn't have in Trinidad. You understand? The magistrate try your own self is a parallel song to a real case. You understand? So that the Spoiler powers of observation bigger than the imagination. And that's the mistake we just make.
Zeno, you were saying?
I say he powers both. He was as imaginative as he was observant. Exactly. he wasn't easy. Right. Yeah, well,
real Baba Green Sergeant.
Yeah. He was unique anyway. Right. Well, maybe we could look at the other kind of looting, which is the actual physical thing, not the most brilliant treatise on the historical thing, because Shadow and Contender them have song about men actually looting. What we're talking about right now, the fridge and the microwave and that kind of thing.
That will be the I Never Know by Contender, right?
Yeah, that is one. And Tempo by Shadow. Any one of them looks at the actual looting on the street.
If we could take in a little bit Contender, right. Mr. Marchand, with I Never Know, as we continue here, the Coup and Kaiso, part 3. So that song, while that song line up, for the folks who listening, remember you could share the page on Facebook.
Well, I never know my people for that look so. Yes, I never know trees for that look so. Until July 27, when the thing happened, tell you all and young, into to take clean up town. On the home supermarket, the warehouse and the market, they losing, and they
Right. So we had a little taster, one I never know by a contender. And a nice approach. Well, actually, he documented the thing. He tell you all the stores that get hit.
And it's but nothing happening in Tobago and South and Deep South and thing, you know. We was home enjoying ourselves and action take place where it's still taking place. When the Lootin start and the Bacchanal start, is always be up there, not so much down the road. I'm not sure why, except
in the first edition, we kind of touch on the topic, and again it begs the question: how come the coup was just a Porter's painting?
Yeah, well, the reaction from the streets, I mean, and for the people, I don't know. The rest of people stay home and watch out, but it always seemed to be so that the action will start up on the corridor.
Well, they work on when saying so in the 41 seat, 18 is in the corridor, you know.
Well, yeah.
In the 41 seat, 18 is in the corridor. And you win 4 extra, a 0.2 Sando and a Tobago. You're on 22, you know. 22, you're more than half. You know what I'm saying? So that you have to understand. That's why the thing at Port of Spain, it for years we asking to decentralize. It might be lucky that we never get so. So Tongas had to take the most of the licks of the stupidity. Because the thing is that they're disconnected to the normal everyday life that Trinidadians really inherit from the older people. Port of Spain trying to move at a speed that Port of Spain can't afford to move at. That's why it have everything. It's like the world trying to move at a speed that the human being can't move at. And coronavirus mash up brakes. AIDS did mash up brakes. Caused me to mash up brakes. The coronavirus caused me to mash up brakes, but like we mash up serious brakes this time, the brakes lock. So you have to understand that when you're moving against the grain, it's like the problem they had in with the Mississippi the other day with the hurricane. The sandbag and them must break because water that find its own level, and you straighten the river because you want to do what you want to do. Water say not me, my passing there, I going here. And nearly drunk with the whole of New Orleans. So that you had to understand nature has also be part of this, you know. The human, you can't get out of sync with nature and feel nothing will happen. And that, to my mind, is the problem. Port of Spain going to get them problems. Port of Spain is the only people that test out around about that they had no sense crossing and nobody else say nothing. And they put one in Europe. So that is how it goes. Because nobody in the world, nowhere in the world, not even poor people country, it have that level around about like where they are crossing. But nobody has seen nothing. And who
but again, we can handle the thing.
We can handle it. Port of Spain?
we can handle it.
The problem is Trinidad can't handle Port of Spain. That's the problem. Trinidad can't handle Port of Spain. I don't understand all the external things. Shantytown, Navantil, all them extra thing is a drain on the development Port of Spain. You understand? The rural-urban drift was because they centralized everything in town, you know. And they centralized everything in town historically because they wanted to starve St. Joseph, you know. You understand? So that since that, it gets stupid. But everything happened. That like they had to ban the train because they put tongues along the east-west corridor. So that the train didn't bong to move. You could have go in one car, walk up the next car and go in the next tongue. You could have walked. That is why the train should have just been long run. That's what they do. What they do is they ban the train because they couldn't work out how the train was long from the Quasi to halfway down the road. But it had tongue along the way, so the train couldn't move. Men would have walk in. If you walk in the train and walk up the carriage and them and walk back out the front carriage in the next tongue. You understand what I mean? So train had no use on the corridor.
Gentlemen, I want to throw out a question here in the search for answers in and around the coup. What would have been, I mean, only talking that only was 3 and 4, like Omari, I was toddler stage, right?
You toddler stage.
Now forming words and things. Would you say if Abu Bakr as an individual was accepted by the people after the act of 1990?
You're asking a hard question. We have a history of.
Do you feel that he acted genuinely on behalf of the people? They saw a scenario.
But who he would have act on behalf of? Who he would have act for if he didn't act on behalf of the people? So Abu Bakr wake up one morning and say I should be prime minister and burn down a police station and hold a whole government hostage because he wanted to be prime minister. That wasn't the thing. It had plethora of worries. He was part of a movement that didn't know where they'd go in. And historically, 1970, Abu Bakr would have ended up, anybody with sense, any critical thinking person would have feel Abu Bakr would have ended up like how Granger ended up. Because the people and them, we are immediate. We like Facebook. That's why Facebook and the internet play into we hand. We immediate. We are guided by the papers. In the morning, the papers they show we a crash with 6 cars. They find they should put road hump on Churchill Roosevelt. But the next morning, a man chop a man in the bush. They forget about Churchill Roosevelt. They're going to discuss we should burn down all the bush. You understand? We guided. The media have a ring in we nose and pulling we all about the place. Nobody don't follow nothing. You could go from headline Monday and Tuesday, you're on page 5, on the bottom of page 5, in a corner behind Solo and Milk does make a good shandy. In the same papers. So that where all the reporter who was on the scene and take picture, you understand? Them going on to our next thing because papers putting story to sell papers that have nothing to do with we. And until we get a social conscience, Abu Bakr would have wake up one morning and want to be in charge of nothing. Abu Bakr had follower. Abu Bakr formed school. You go wake up and want to run a school. And in the middle of you had children learning to do something. You wake up one morning and want to be prime minister. No, he did it for the people. But he didn't know he was doing it for people who really even know they need nothing. Who really know they need nothing. All the people really reach to the point that they know they need the PNM. And in the throes of the government and the thing, we need the PNM. Oh God, we go dead.
Omari.
Yeah, on some of the live on Facebook and then 1 or 2 people will be making some comments and might be asking some questions too.
Yeah. Bring them in.
So we monitor that too, and we could bring in people in the discussion, even some who in this Zoom.
Yeah.
I see we have I see really just 2 comments so far in the Facebook, and just a reminder for those who hear it, and you could share it on the 1990 page on Facebook. We going live, we streaming live, and those who on Zoom, And you all are correct. Now might be a nice time that Debbie, we could probably open up and bring in one or two folks and get either questions or get a sense of even that same question after all, or what was the feel, or what might be people's, even retroactively looking back at it. Do you think Abu Bakr was making sense in 1990?
That's a different question. You're a smart man, you know.
You had to ask how Croco, how we feel about that, because Croco tell me, right?
This is my point, right? But it's two different questions you asked. Marcus, you're bright.
We played it in a previous thing, but there is a composer see we have there, which speaks to Robinson, and how we called on the forces to attack with full force. So while we waiting for people to come, we could also take a listen at that composer, because I know how much Kaiso it had in support of Robbie after.
On the obvious side, Kokro, and he vacillate between the between Abu and not liking NAR, liking Robinson. And Eunice Peters, Abu Bakr, national hero. So there's only two I found, you know. I mean, most of the time people use the NAR as a scapegoat for what happened, as if nothing would happen if NAR wasn't in power. I think the sympathy with that when that place. But as Sprang say, it was happening from before. But people use that 5-year period and say that will cause everything.
Yeah.
Nothing happened before that contribute to the state of the society. So other than to support, like I say, and definitely Kuku was going left and going right, and we should do this, but so on. So run the song and see who want to make comments from outside.
Right. So just as a reminder for if anyone who listening to the Zoom, you could use the raise hand tool and the
who tool?
And you have you'll be technically unmuted so that you could make your comments and contribution. Omari, which song is that you referenced a little while ago?
Composer.
Composer. Let me get the name for you.
Attack with Full Force.
Yeah, one of two songs.
I seen a question on Facebook, gentlemen. Who are the people he acted like that for? And I guess we're talking about Abu Bakr, right? Who are the people he acted like that for, and how did they benefit from this event?
Well, that is why he had the problem, because the people who he acted for did not know he was acting for them, because them life and make up so. The life is an immediate thing. To take away with cola, we're going to lick him down for with cola. But if they leave with salary, we ain't discussing salary. You understand?
Attack with full force.
Yeah, attack with full force, composer. But you understand what I'm saying? We had to compartmentalize. We the same people. We're not the same people that they tell Dr. Williams religion and politics don't mix. But being a Muslim leader, that religion and politics, that thing will start to mix because it's Abu Bakr. The condition then the whole country is PNM. You're only understanding, you know. When we go back to the colonial thing and we go understand how we get here, the whole the contradictions of what the PNM do to we is what have we to be in this, because no, everybody only point was they turn the politics into the most important thing, but the social upheaval and the psychological upheaval of the PNM is what
I can argue 1970 and thing. I find it interesting that Sprang saying the whole country was PNM, and I can't doubt him become here, you know.
No, right? When I say PNM, I ain't talking about voting PNM.
Mm.
Are talking about PNM conscious. And
Right.
by 1986, the panic with 3 PNM in opposition and some fellas who was all PNM running the country. It means that we have the same method of madness by people that we can't talk to and we know and we like. And we have other social constrictions with NAR. The NAR having Pandey, the NAR having Carl, former PNM. The NAR have Robbie, the wife, Basotti, all them fellas, former PNM. You understand? So that you have the problem that we are now PNM without PNM. So that is because the country has been PNMized, but no longer have, you see, the PNM was the net. 10 days and thing is not by accident. 10 days and thing is for we not to quarrel. 10 days and thing is for we to left them to do what they want to do. They have a thing called 10 days in our constitution, you know. You understand? 10 days is a net you invent. And when you have that net, the people must like you. I don't understand. So that we have that problem now. When Zenzo, you see, when somebody want to know who is the people that he do it for, and no, that's not true. So who the people Sopo was marching for? He was in Sopo. That like telling me Nolly Clark was against the bishop and them. That is why he marched. No. You understand what I'm saying? So that we have that they have to understand. I think that will be an understanding. You have to find out what happened previously. We head to this long time ago.
And Dennis, as you mentioned, Sopo, I seen another question. What was the the role of Sopo meetings in Port of Spain?
Sopo was all the people who protested come together. What did that name, Omari? Somebody.
What it was by the something of, oh gosh, I had it last week, you know.
Yeah.
I'll get fair.
Put on a quiz right there.
Yeah.
But gentlemen, we do have the contender attack with full force on hand. Composer, sorry.
You know
we don't have that one at hand. But seeing that we talking about Abu Bakr, I mean, of course, you have numerous calypsos calling Abu Bakr by name. We have Preacher Sparrow, Brother Ebony. We even have organizer addressing with the title, "Who is your leader?"
And then interject again, the summit of the People's Organization. Right. Summit of the People's Organization, Sopo.
Abu Bakr was part of that, so that what they're asking, who he do it for? He wake up in the morning and there are nobody, and he can't be doing it for the students down in his school. You understand what I'm saying? So that the problem is that the people who he doing it for and know that could do too.
You understand? It was
take hot sun, but them know that could do too. And that's the problem. So when them see that, and Trinidadian afraid to dead, I'm tired saying that, they're afraid to dead.
That would be a situation of a straight case of this thing had to fix. But we didn't mean fix it, so?
Yeah. But I go shoot them fella died. People go dead, people go dead.
That kind of fix we mean.
Right. It's March and they say sorry.
You understand? So Marcus told you you're looking at it. Is that the Sparrow?
It have the Sparrow, one entitled Abu Bakr.
Yeah, I remember that Abu Bakr.
We could take in that Sparrow.
Take one verse.
We could take one from
one verse of that, one verse of Preacher, one verse of Ebony.
We have some Kaiso, man.
Yeah.
Right. So we have Kaiso addressing it. And again, folks, if it is that you go on YouTube, you should find a list, the Coup and Kaiso 3 state of emergency, and you will find a nice playlist with about 14 videos referencing some of these songs that we play in here, so that you could have the opportunity in your timing to listen to the song in its entirety. But for now, we've taken a little taste of the Abubakars by Sparrow Preacher, Brother Ebony.
Read the newspapers and find out what's going on with Abubakar. The Muslim in Jamaica leader with the machine gun. Abubakar. They went to parliament, brandishing the armament, kidnap the government. Just so. Now depend on where you pass and who you talk to last. Abubakar is a superhero, but people get shoot, businesses get loot, while the city burn, back up the stand firm, till the government do more for the hungry. And before I am your leader, Abubakar. Too much corruption, so they blow the station down. Abubakar. Put the police on the run and take over town. Abubakar. Situation was well tight for the hostages. That night they tied dynamite and then did the windpipe. So the soldiers or the cops make negotiation. From bottom to top, boom, we gon' blow them up. Some get shot in head, some get shot in leg. He must really dread how Leo feels dead. No pity, no sympathy. Leo died innocently to the splunderer. Abubakar.
Nice. So we just heard the mighty Sparrow. What was interesting to note in his take, again, he gave us a little detail, well, a recap of what went on. But I see, and there's a line where he referenced Abubakar as a superhero.
He said to talk to where you pass and who you talk to last. I think that he is saying he was a superhero, not to he.
Because he called them both a superhero and a plunderer.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't know who you ask.
And
which is interesting. Yes. You don't know who you ask.
Basically, Sparrow answered the question that I was asking, right?
Yes.
To some extent.
Two questions according to Sprang.
The two questions. So that the title of that song was Abubakar, and that was Sparrow version. Well, we're going to take in now a little bit how Preacher, a man from Point Fortin, would have his take on what went on. So we getting ready for
Preacher with Lefton Paul, the New York connection.
And that is crucial, the New York connection.
It was around 5:30, viewing Batman on TV. But I hear a new flash coming from Abubakar, telling the whole nation. Right now he's in command. All the ministers he detests, he placed them under arrest. Sit down to watch panorama. Men with big gun on their shoulder. Police and Muslims in crossfire. I wonder if I'm watching MacGyver. trust the murderer. Abu Bakr take over. I wonder where the army commander. Abu Bakr take over. Neighbor want a modern flower. Abu Bakr take over. Oh oh, whoa ho ho. Abu Bakr take over. Oh oh, whoa ho ho. Abu Bakr take over. Dum ding dong, dum ding dong, dum ding dong, dum ding dong.
Right. Again, party tune. Thing for we to dance. Somehow in my toddler age, I remember this song. And I remember that refrain.
Well, you see, we have a way we just call this thing party tune, but me, you know, that was a social commentary though.
It was, yeah.
At the highest level. You know Marcus. Marcus is party tune. Marcus grew up with Kenny, you know, so all them know is party tune.
It's category of calypso.
The problem is that preacher do it fast, auto part do it fast to show you the immediacy of the activity, the zest of the activity, if you put it that way. I have always asked for the longest while, how many know when to sing the calypso fast and when to sing it slow? And that had to do that had nothing to do with what they're singing. That had to do with why they do it fast and why they do it slow. And how come tune that we find should be slow is fast and find tune that we find should be fast slow. Zeno, you better than me than that, you know, you more into the
culture. Because we program, right? I mean, as I hear a party song, remember every calypso is a commentary. When we divide everything into politics and this stupid thing they call humor and so on, but every song is a commentary. You take some fast, take some slow, the same commentary. Sometimes it's the excitement that they want to get fast.
Yes, that's my point.
And we mistaken believe that if you take it slow, it will get more serious. A serious song is slow, not necessarily. Right? But you see the rewards for the slow ones that are more than for the fast ones where the competition is concerned. Fast ones have to go and do road match. Now, the slow ones, the fast ones should also be in the monarch. I mean, not I never had, but this belief that there's a slow song and there's a monarch song to go wrong with this fast. So that, well, preacher will take it at his pace because preacher he handles the stall and that anyway. But you making the same point.
Right.
Just like Super take it at fast and Sprangalang will take it fast and one or two others. So play with.
Well, we now have the version by Brother Ebony, which will give us a little contrast. So we get 3 Abu Bakr songs back to back. And we will continue the discussion here on Coup and Kaiso.
Yeah, good thing, man.
You're right.
Member for St. Augustine, you talk about your leader. What leader? You have a leader? Who is your leader? Who is your leader?
Yeah, you have a good point, you see.
You seem to shut down in the middle of that.
Somebody pull a coup down, we? Yeah. Somebody pull a coup down, we, boy? Come, Marcus, jump in. This is right. Come, Marcus, jump in. Yeah.
Taking one more try at it. But in the meantime, while that's loading, in the middle of the F jam, Brother Ebony, I yet to hear his take on it. But we have folks who logged on in Zoom, and we'll be happy to hear you. Remember, you could just use the show of hand tool, and we will unmute the microphones. remember to watch, although we're not broadcasting on as it is on radio, but last week somebody jumped in with a kind of we'll try to keep we language pure.
A half a radio? Oh, yeah, that the girl won we tonight, and wasn't we? Deborah.
Deborah.
So Debbie, I don't know if you want
Babu Akawa.
You talk about a leader. What leader? You have a leader? Who is your leader? Eh? Who is your leader?
Marcus, you're picking on you.
Yes.
Nobody didn't tell me. I was right there, I see. It was in the heart of town. When I hear the explosion, is when I hold my head at the Lord. Like somebody dead I hear. Gunshot all over town. Water spin like a battleground. We're talking about commotion, headquarters burning down. They seize the government, they take over parliament. Them fellas in easy, they even capture TTT.
So there's the F-Jam. Daddy F-Jam, Marcus is a musician.
Yeah, that level F-Jam.
Level F-Jam. That is same thing. That is same thing Alo's using he PNM song.
Contribution. No contribution, the other one.
Jubilation.
Make way for the balize.
Jubilation.
Jubilation. Make way for the balize.
Yeah, same thing. Interesting. The F-Jam, eh?
Yeah. That way you call the F-Jam.
That was super used to put words on to make.
Yeah.
Yes, put lyrics.
Lately, Marshall would also jump out with it for what was that song? One of them songs recently, Marshall jumped out with a straight F-Jam.
Who the F-Jam was a syncopation invented by who?
I can't say who could give you the F-Jam now.
You could make a list of who give it since.
I could reference where you could find F-Jam. And F-Jam, you just find it from the time you hear Papua, Papua,
That would have been bugle and thing in pan time.
Yeah.
That has some Alexander Ragtime band would have played that.
Yeah, them fellas and them Joey Lewis used to jam on it. I mean, I think anybody, once you're a musician, even now with Latin, Caribbean jazz, local jazz, you will find men, jamming on IF Jam.
But you realize this Ebony had some pace too.
Again, yeah.
Because of the excitement of the thing. That's why I'm saying that I understand. I mean, this Bacha Calypso is one of the few Bacha Calypso I understand why it fast. But I am saying under normal circumstances, men that sing fast. Just so, I mean, I understand Kitchener used to get melodious songs because he was a steel band thing. It's like when Valentino sing Band for the West, you're hearing, you're feeling pan when he's singing it. You understand what I'm saying? But men singing important song fast and stupid songs slow, they worry me. But I just interested in how. But it's an amazing thing because Grenadians have a different problem. The Grenadians talk different. Therefore, I don't understand if Grenadians sing the song first and then write it down. Because if they write it down, it ain't go rhyme. You understand? But if they sing it, it go rhyme. I remember, and I make that point because a lot of the Calypsonians have roots elsewhere. But I remember the song by name Inspector, where he say, look where the thing reach. That man is the son of a beach. No, that is not what would I write down on paper, but what would I write down on paper wouldn't rhyme. You understand? I remember asking Swiper that, how all you just get all your phonetics to rhyme. So exactly when all you just write it down and what all you just send to the Copyright Society. And that to me is a crucial thing. It's like historically as no man, Sparrow never get certain thing to rhyme. Violence. Never get violence to rhyme. When he sing gunslinger, you understand what I'm saying? So that that brings us to the question of how did us work out what to sing fast and what to sing slow. Now I understand why Abu Bakr sing fast because of the excitement of the particular incident. But I don't understand how they work out.
Kita Jamu Watkins in the comments say what I find interesting is the storyline approach that everyone took, even with the upbeat songs, not the long thesis mournful manner dealing with issues. He also made a note that is Like a Boss is the F Jam song from Marshall.
Yeah, the Like a Boss.
But that comment about even in the upbeat song, I think maybe what he alluded to is a complaint that people have been making about some of the newer Monarch songs now. That kind of hold a position.
Yeah, but the newer Monarch songs are written by people over 50, you know. Make care who's singing it. The newer Monarch songs are songs written by people over 50, you know. Me, I even feel if they wanted to write fast, them had the strength. So yeah, we have all kind of problems because the problem is that it's not a bag of people. It's not like Kurt Allen writing a fast song for our next man. It's people over 60 writing a song for somebody 12. What do you do? You understand? I mean, short pants work out clearly.
Well, one of the other considerations from a musical perspective, remember, even in terms of music, we in and around 1990 or the aftermath, 1991, that's when Super Blue came with Get Something and Wave, and that at that time that was fast, and I think people, and I think the whole introduction of that drum machine is what might have.
No. Kenny invent chicken and chips music years before. Drupal and all them people before, between Kenny and Casman. Kenny, Casman, GB, all them fellas in Sando. Invent chicken and chips music with drum machine and thing. But the problem is not that. The problem is we never had so many writers. We have more writers than Calypsonian. And that's a strange thing. Because they give me a fast song to sing, I nearly dead. And me and who write it is the same age. But it's the idea the thing is that fasting is conditioned to who? Men like Terry Joseph and them who find that they want to set a dirge. It's not so they'll decide if a song must be fast, a song mustn't be fast. A song mustn't be fast because, or a song mustn't be slow because you want it fast. That's not good. And men also too on the radio station was speeding up your song. Them days was on the cassette player, right? Was speeding up song that done fast. So everybody had a mouse voice. Everybody sung like your masha hands. So that
like your soccer helium balloon.
Yeah. So that all them things had to be taken into consideration. It's just that because of the level of excitement generated by the 1990 debacle, the fast songs had to also say something. You understand? So the first time Iron Meat Road. The first time Iron Meat Road was 1990, the Coup. You can't just sing a Coup song. You can't sing a Coup song slow, or you have to bounce it like Croker them. Or you could have run from it like Shadow, because Shadow take the position, don't stop the carnival, so he keep the bounce right through the lacare.
Well, again, it could have also just been that same, as Omari hinted even in our last discussion, that kind of freedom that you know, we laugh or we party things out. What do you say about that, Omari?
Well, there's that, but in terms of the frenzy, the thing what Sprang referring to, that is an important thing, because as a writer, you want to reflect what is happening and to really capture that, because it wasn't a calm thing, it wasn't a sedate thing, it was a thing that caused a kind of rupture and a frenzy, yeah. And so to deal with it, but in all of that, we spoke about the economy awards and all of that. Everybody still managed to get across the story, tell the story of what happened, do it in a kind of efficient way, but also create that kind of, hey, what happening? Hey, what going on? Them fellas and them, you know what I mean? That kind of energy that really, I think the Coup demanded from the writers and them. It would be hard to deal with the Coup. Now, you could deal with things that are wrong, it's a little slower, right? You could deal with, you know, but to deal with the Coup itself, it requires a little pace because it was a kind of
a frenetic
time, you know, and the response to the particular event, you know what I'm saying? It would have, and really and truly, when you look at the broader thing, people always say that it changed the society, and maybe all that is part of it. Maybe the society changed along that. Maybe it's like youth and them says pace right now, and maybe that pace, you know, kind of permeates the society, or how men speeding, crime and speeding, you know what I mean? Maybe that speed with triggering with that, you know, going down.
Zeal without knowledge is a runaway horse.
Well, and it have plenty of that right now, right? We have here, you know what I mean?
Yes, without knowledge. The thing is that
right now we zesting right? So it's that kind of energy and
Because only the music from Super Blue. Get Something and Wave had a concise lyrical content, but it was so explicit that we realized that, I mean, 2-line Abu Bakr Prime Minister, and we're going to
that.
No curfew.
Whole story. Whole story. That Abu Bakr in Get Something and Wave is a sentence. It's not simply one word. Prime Minister is the next sentence. Yeah.
That rhyme, that say everything, and that also when it sing, it's something like it have verb and subject and predicate. Right? The hand up is just one. You understand? So that you have to understand, Super Blue, one of the best poets, and after 40 years, because it is 2020 and he started in 80, he make 40 years, and they look so. But I mean, I was only 3 when he started. But
so what we want to do now is on this same, pivoting off this point, and Zeno, when I will take your twist on if you have any on the tempo and anything. But we want to open up the chat. We have a few folks who are listening. We want to unmute some of the microphones. I don't know if anybody will have any questions, contribution to what we would have been discussing here so far. Those who are listening on the Facebook Live, you could throw up your question and we will take it from there. We have just about half an hour to go. And in that half an hour, let's make it a little interactive. Remember, you could find the 1990 Project page on Facebook and Instagram, so you could follow and get little videos. I have something written here, but I'll come back and touch that. So, Debbie, I don't know if we could open up the microphones if anybody have any questions or contribution so far. But Zeno, we were discussing the tempo. We looked at the 3 Abu Bakr songs, the 3 last songs that we played, and we realized that they were all lively songs.
Well, fast or slow could always make the point. I think we suffer now from bad calypsos being brought to the forefront. So we keep saying calypso boring. But it's not that, Sprang make that point last week. There are a number of good calypsos that go over to the tent. And what we have done, either by chance, on purpose, is say, you write a calypso on a piece of paper, and you look and see if you have metaphor and simile and all them kind of thing, and say, that is a good calypso. And when the man started to sing it, it's a dirge-like thing, but have big words with sense. And I mean, it's a piece of poem, a piece of poetry you could use in a class, but the calypso is not a poetry. Calypso have poetics in it, have some poetic sense, but it's not a poetry. And that is what Sprang was saying. He thought that it's not the last day, somewhere on a comedy something, that the calypso don't understand how we just talk. The people on top want you to talk in a particular way. And now we have shifted the calypso down them lines. And we have judges looking for parts of speech in the calypso. You can't do that. So slow and fast should not be a point. Unfortunately, a culture that is predicated upon a competition, and a competition which sets these rules. Make that point before, there's nothing to say, and you should have said that progress is better than Get Something on the Wave. You can't judge it together anyway. There's 2 different kind of things. But when you're looking at a big calypso, you forget Get Something on the Wave and discuss.
Progress.
And I think Sprangalang make that point when you're looking at the top calypsos of the last century. 20 years ago, Sprang say you can't leave out people like Jackson and Fluke and them. And when I produced them songs a couple months ago, I mean, people was angry, and not angry, but they was peeved that Fluke get playing that.
I
I
don't
want to know.
But Fluke must get play though.
Yeah, but the thing is, them calypso touch a nerve, and because it didn't have the big word kind of chauvinist, we didn't understand that a calypso don't have to have that. It has to touch this nerve and communicate between people, and they communicated. Slammer communicated. That the song stay big.
Yeah, Kamaja classic. No, but you see, the problem is things that's supposed to be ingredients in a calypso. They have that as category. You can't put humor is not, it can't be a category, because if humor is a category, you write off all joke. That's calypso. You go put all, because you go put in all in politics, all in social.
Well,
and you go, and
somewhere
so,
along the line, Dennis, we change, but it started to swing back, you know, because if we look at what happened in 2020, although 2020 is not really a good year to draw plenty examples from, but we see that in 2020, the thing kind of make a circle because the monarch was two humorous songs.
Well, me, you know, but that, you know, I not.
Well, I don't think you could with calypso going. No, that casting they have in this Savannah.
No, but Sprang point is that humor is not a category because any calypso could use the medium of humor to make the point.
Yeah.
Whether fun, slow, political, I mean anything. Because it is I don't know. I think the problem with the humor was that they degenerate humor into a category at a lower level.
Into
create a competition for them to say all you can make, all is rapper charge. That cycling word. You make the first cut.
Yeah.
Come back. And that will make no sense. Right? So when you hear, listen, I have heard Alpha singing Crying in the Wrong Funeral. And that should have been in the national final. But as a humor, and it had the kind of images and language as some of them calypso. So it didn't make, and I think that is the problem we have with that, not giving a calypso a chance because it's a calypso. And if Fluke sing with a right hand in the air like a tower and catch everybody, it's a big calypso. It's big because it communicates. So what Lala is a big calypso. Every Ramshap was playing Lala. But being considered that big because it have the images and the imagery and the words. And
my point, I think we with Shootin self, I see Errol Hill in Carnival when he demanded for National Theatre in his book. He have 50 category for calypso. My point is that and we had 3 and can't manage it. So that 50 on top of which it have plenty calypso that each verse in a different category. How you go work on that? Each verse in a different category. That's the next thing. So to categorize the calypso is lose the essence of what calypso is about. Calypso is that level of communication important.
And sometimes they talk in the language of, you know when I realized that? When I listened to Maestro and listened to Valentino and realized they were saying the same thing, you know. But Maestro was talking from the point of view of the people in the street. Valentino was saying the same thing as if he was Macandal from up inside there. But the same thing, you know, the same. I mean, Mr. Trinidadian criticized the people. So does this place nice, but this place nice have a kind of aloofness of what are doing. Might just say what is we doing kind of way. So if you communicate, it's supposed to be good. And I feel that too many communicating calypsos getting right off because they feel that humor and they would not, or they have the ingredients. And them fellas and them who control the ingredients laughing because they know that they try not to write that.
Yeah, well, and then next year go have 4,000. Next year go have 4,000 Obia song. Would you have Kakajab on the stage 2021. So I know that. But the other point is that
I was about to say what interesting for the COVID thing. You might have 400 COVID songs, and therefore you could see how the uniqueness will come out.
How they go get out of that.
Well, you know, on this point, gentlemen, I have a question in the chat group. We have a question on Facebook that's, and then it might be maybe a rhetorical one, but I don't know if it's something we could touch on. How many perspectives can one person write for multiple Calypsonians competing in the same space?
A few well.
I mean, my Metro write 12 and he own for competition and come to it.
I'm going to tell you that. If this person is maestro, you could be in problems.
Oh, but they could do it, you know.
Rappers do that too.
When you're a writer, not a writer, when you're a machine, right, put 30, 40 songs for the year, perspective matter, you know. All you're studying is, Omari could song better with this one. Again, he that. Right? And again, you know, and so the same matter, your personal perspective or nothing. And since then, people who taken it, not like Sparrow, who could reject, and he could reject progress, they take it what they get. And therefore, the man could have many viewpoints. He didn't really care, because now we kind of, what AI, who writing on a kind of artificial intelligence writing. So you turn off 30 for the air, because you know that 30 by X amount of money.
Bomber was averaging 45.
Yeah, they could do it. Yeah, then for that behind the scenes, I feel runners do about 30 something and then stop and then say, well, I feel I have enough. I don't know if that means we get a greater dependency on the writers. So people who could write, me write or not, nah? Because I've seen the situations where people could write, just go and get song by people, other writers, because them name big. But they could write it for themselves, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, a strange kind of thing. I think Idea Explainer was singing at GB, I think. But give John Foster a good song, you know. So that whole thing is a mess. But you see, that's why outside the competition, them songs that apparently don't make for the competition, they'll be so big when they're in concert. People balling and clapping and things. But they can't make in the competition. The rules of the competition, unwritten rules, say this is the way to go. But I think as long as I say, hopefully we might get Obia song next year, because that at least was up tempo and a little interesting and a little human. But that, although that's a writer too,
Well, it must have, because based on she couldn't have passed through all that and understand the effects of Obia. I mean, she could have known about Obia, but she couldn't have that in-depth understanding of Obia unless she grandmother teach you or she more. You know, I mean? You just know. You could she had to get help to write that. Even if she write the framework, she had to get help to write that based on the age and maturity of the song. Have to do with a level of intelligence beyond she.
All right.
Executed good because she also understand it, but you don't know.
Gentlemen, I've seen another question in the chat right now. And for if anybody on Zoom and want to join us, you could just unmute your mic, dust your foot and come in. And you're good to go.
Rock and come in. It's rock and come in. You have to get the young people thing right, you know. Rock and come in.
I've seen a question in the chat. Was the 1990 a success, given the fact that its impact or presence did not reach other parts of the country? Well, this person, I guess, from South.
What do you mean by if it was a success? We didn't call it a coup. Success is what happened after the coup. What exactly? Is Abu Bakr who wanted to tell me if it was a success? We didn't stage no coup.
So I guess the 1990 project, we must try to get Abu Bakr on the set one of these days.
Yeah, about the game on the set, you could talk to him and tape him, and we go put it back in. We could work out some question and all. You could go and talk to him and so on, because that question they asked, I don't understand. If the coup was a success, that is not we discussion.
Well, in the strictest sense, no.
Eh?
I say in the strictest sense, no. But as far as coups does go. You know what I mean? Because if the objective of the coup is to take the country over and put in a new administration,
based on African survey.
You understand? If it's that kind of, you understand, it was not a success.
Yeah.
You know?
That man actually, if it was a success, we don't know. That is Abu Bakr reason based on what happened. The only thing, let me tell you something. I read in a whole document about the inquiry. And the only thing that we get that Trinidad benefit from the coup is SIA and Security Council and so on. I mean, the head of the Security Council put me back to the same thing, but the point was that only the Commissioner of Police and the Minister of Home Affairs didn't know all were going on. They didn't have no scout to look at nothing. You know what I'm saying? So that when things happen, had to galvanize them fellas who don't talk to one another into action, into together action, and it was a mess. But I am saying that now we have SIA and all these other things that they could monitor the society in a particular way. So that really come out because of the coup. That really come out because of the coup. Because now in that inquiry, various people, men come to them and tell them, as a matter of fact, Muslimin men come to men and tell them, hey, them fellas going to take over the town. And this is a member of parliament, say, say nothing because me and them on the stupid, do we go that far? So that, you understand, so that new thing, that SIA thing and that Security Council and the thing, that whole thing that Gary did set up when he was in PP government ministry is part of the new thing.
Well, you speak about the benefits.
That's the only benefit it have.
And the disadvantages that plenty places in Tongburn, people lost the business, as we hear in terms of, and even looking at our theme. That's
not the disadvantage. The disadvantage is the who place didn't burn. The insurance policy went up. But if your place burn, you will get insurance money. Remember who burn would get the insurance money? The problem would be because the insurance had paid out so much, we who place didn't get burned. We might have had to close down because we premium too high. Study that too.
Just in case they attack back?
Yes. Study that too. Because who get burned get insurance if they have insurance? And who wasn't insured squeeze their head and say, oh God, if I did insure. But that all of that upstairs they had to do with how the place is. It's not a disadvantage and advantage. It's an advantage. The insurance, if you insure your place, you'll get money. But if you had two places and insure one and one give you money, the premium you're paying for the one place equivalent to the premium you're paying for the two places, you know.
More than ever, we see that that this whole 1990, the coup, and I know, and from speaking to Debbie, I mean, this is some of the objectives of the 1990 project, to look into so many of the other elements other than just the mere facts, right? As Super Blue said, Abu Bakr, Prime Minister, no curfew. You know? But I see on the playlist for this evening, we have one entitled Tongue Burned Down by Nelson.
Well, the Nelson is a kind of carbon copy of Duke Radical. Tongue Burned Down. According to Sprang, a man stay in Port of Spain and could see people long in Caroni. So the whole tongue burned down.
Yeah, man, just stand up by the lighthouse and you were seeing the savannah. Whole tongue burned flat. I want to tell you that and was charging me 500 Canadian to become a citizen.
So either the tongue bone down or the getting radical could be nice. What do they, Marcus? One of them.
We'll take in a little bit of the tongue burn down by
All right.
Nello.
Try him again.
I see buffer in there.
Another coup. Another coup. Afraid them, you know.
Of course, remember, folks, that you could go on YouTube and look for the Coup and Kaiso, and you will get the playlist of the songs that was played this evening. So for the Kaiso lovers, people who, you know, may be on the Sunday evening, taking in the Kaiso, or maybe a Friday evening. So we trying to incorporate, we put in it. While we getting the song loading, one of the things that I heard, especially when we played that the brother Ebony.
You don't live on the bandstand by Woodford Square. Whole night you hear anything from whom?
No, because no, when you're listening, but more so, I mean, we talk about using, or there's the discussion about using calypsos and thing in school.
Mm-hmm.
You have songs here that could paint the picture for a young generation. You know what went on.
Well, they listening to it in calypso, they go listen to it in school. That'll shape it in. That'll shape it in the revolver.
We try.
Just turn on the TV, much to my surprise. Fire in the city, right in front of my eyes. I tried to change the channel because I say it couldn't be. My wife, she started to quarrel. She said, leave it there, let we see. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She called, I'm sorry.
It must have stopped there.
Well, yeah, Dan Nelson seemed to be, but again, folks, remember the playlist is available on YouTube. You could go check it out. As we just about 9 minutes to go before 10, we again open the floor if anybody. I've seen a few folks in the Zoom itself, if they have any questions or comments to add. This evening, 2 hours fly real fast.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. She called, I'm sorry. Good Lord, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, yes. I'm sorry. Was ashamed to see how they loot and shoot, burning down the town. Shame to see how they loot and shoot it, burning down the town, Mama David. Shame to see how they loot and shoot, yes, I mean all around. Shame to see how they loot and shoot it, burning down the town. I'm telling you, town burn down. Come and see how town burning down. I'm telling you, town burning down. You should see how town burning down. watching the city burning, them old landmarks going up in flame. Inside them it start boiling, I feel so bad, look, I feel so ashamed. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, good Lord, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, yes.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Shame to see how they loot and shoot. Cyrus got the song. Shame to see how they loot and shoot. And run down the tongue. Shame to see how they loot and shoot. Oh, policemen are gone. Shame to see how they loot and shoot. They run down the tongue. I'm telling you, tongue man.
Tongue burning down.
Yeah. Tongue burn down.
Interesting.
The very viewpoint as getting radical by the people who, because it's the same thing about the people, but not the place, without explanation, or how should I behave. So that's an interesting one. Right? Because who out there in the land now to finish it off in terms of nobody making no comment? I seen a thing on my hand. That's a different thing.
I see a question. To what extent is Lootin part of our
history?
Cultural baggage?
To what extent Lootin? What happened?
Yeah, this is a question coming into us. To what extent
Lootin and burning?
Well, I mean, the person spoke about Lootin. I mean, I know earlier we touched on, the question was where people get the idea for Lootin, and it was meant, and I mean, it really begs the question, if Abu Bakr didn't tell people not to loot, if they would have gone and loot.
Daga didn't tell me nothing and we are loot.
Well, maybe, listen, in Daga case, you had 2 months of disciplined development, not to go and do certain things. This won't catch you unexpected. So that maybe that's a different thing. But remember we bond the Red House, so it's that we are custom and everything, and we well make mass in bottle thing.
Yeah,
so,
the water riot. Yeah, we bond Charlie King and all first we did bonding.
Yeah, so the bonding and thing, the Lootin by itself means that you go and take from the shop and so on, was a little different at that point in time. And maybe as Sprang say, because that kind of reverse psychology, do not interfere, but you go and take it. So, all right, maybe that was a bit.
It's like how they just bring up children in Trinidad. We know all what not to do, but they never give you nothing to do.
All right, well, we almost done this, so unless we have 2 to go.
Yeah, Marcus, any more questions?
Well, now it seems as though that is it for question from the listeners.
And you have one because you hear something the other day, right?
So as we get ready, let's see if we could wrap up. Omari, I'll start with you. How we wrapping up? How we're closing off today's session?
Well, I mean, I think Sprang mentioned it earlier, and we talked about it in, I think, the first program too. One of the way forward is really to examine 1970 in terms of our exploration at 1990 and what, how we reached there and what take place and some of them. I think that is a crucial intervention that must happen. And again, there's my road march. I stress we need to look at these things as our people, simply, to interrogate, because we don't like to do that at all. And I don't know if it's because we're a kind of young country and we history right there and so we didn't know some of the people, but we have a way, we don't like to deal with things that happen and people and, in a way that could be dispassionate or factual at least, let me say that too. So we had to kind of train yourself to do these things. Look at 1970, look at 1990, look, take a look at these things in a very real way, because other than that, we go just, things will just happen and keep happening, and every generation go say, hey, but there's a new thing, and we have a way we like to do that now. When I come into music, it's something that is when I come into music, when Kindred start to do certain things, I feel we invent it, right? And we invent nothing. You know what I mean? And I mean the art form itself, but with inside of the thing you're doing thing and you tell us, hey, this is the first time, we always feel it's the first time, and that is simply because of a disconnect between what's happening now and what had happened. And if people who do anything now know what had happened, we could close our gap and maybe go a little further than we go in when we feel, hey, we now create this, So I feel it's a crucial intervention.
Zeno, as we get ready to wrap up.
Yeah, well, I agree with Omari on that point, because, as you know, the people and them don't know nothing what gone before. They come in the history class, for instance, or the Calypso class, and they don't know nothing about what went on down the road. But it's Calypso land. And I remember making that point to students in the class, that I should only arrive here every week for us to talk about Calypso, not for me to tell you about Calypso, because in Calypso land, you're supposed to know about Calypso. It's history, or you feel about it, a song down the road. But that point is correct. We don't get past the last 15, 20 years. Beyond that is long time music. And we caught up in the own day. I remember an incident. I tell in our class that Rose was a former road march champion. And a very intelligent girl asked me if Rose used to sing soca, because she couldn't see how a road march and it wasn't soca. And that's how that whole. But as regards this project, right, well, it's out there. And if we have the Calypsos out on YouTube, and more people will be able to access and find out at least what the period by the Calypso, which is the man in the street thing. Yeah, it's a cerebral kind of, doing a PhD thing, just to find out more. Because even though 30 years ago, you'd be surprised how much people who were 40 and under have no idea that something will take place, but we know. And this is an opportunity for them, even though we can't get it into the classroom. Well, it could, because after who teach anything, but make sure they find out about what happened that take place. So it's a good thing. I don't know if you need any more of this. Maybe the project could go, as Omari was saying, what Sprangalang was saying, to intersect into 1970 now, which is a little further back. But there's even more roots that would take place later on, because I think Sprangalang make a good connection between 90 and 70, where we could observe 1970 as a embryonic stage of what actually ended up happening, rather than just 1986. That's my take there. From your government, you're still there.
I did, but I listened very nice. I'm bound to say nothing.
Well, I was saying.
Before Marcus meet more people. My thing is that it's not simply 1970. 1970 go inform where we developed from independence to then. And we didn't have much help from the Calypsonian. We lost Spoiler in 61, Christmas 61, and we went into independence without. So we went into independence without a form of mental understanding and imagination and so on, understand that style of Calypso. But the 20 years, 70, and we will give them a 5 years that they learn thing and the thing, and Daga and them was still something to be reckoned with. So from 75, it's long, 75 to 85. What happened between 75 to 85 in terms of Calypso, in terms of philosophy of men like Shadow, Stalin, chronological perspective like Chalk does, and Maestro and Valentino, the two cerebral men. Them men on men like composer and them on the side. And a plethora of men who just sing Kaiso because they could sing. But even in that thing, they had men who something hit them a day and they sing a class and so on. So that the problem is that the 70 to 90, if we discuss 70 to 90, we ain't going to understand 90. Because we ain't going far back enough. When we started 86, we always see the effects of 56 to 86. We write off that as nothing. But that is the crux of where we is today. And 90 happened because of 4 years. 4 years, no country does go from where we was to where we is. Because before 86, we was a paradise to that, so that we going from paradise to where we was in 90. It can't be 4 years. So I think we need to go from 70, at least from 70 to 90 to understand that 20 years. And as
but that is Debbie challenge now, so she will find.
Yeah, Debbie, write up your thesis, Deborah. Write up your thesis for that 20 years, and let me start to think. We go use 70 as a reference point and 90 as a reference point, and work out that development to reach the 90. How we went from 70 to reach the 90, and 70 when we make serious strides in 70, but we panic because the place get too serious, and we went back to stupidity and frivolity, and we end up in 90, and we looking like we headed towards 2030. Anyway, that's not important right now. Right now, important to how we get here to 90, and we might catch up with the thing. So that's why I say, yeah, no,
all right.
No.
Gentlemen, more than ever, on behalf of the 1990 project coordinator, and for all our listeners, thanks for tuning in. Gentlemen, thanks for being part of this. This is a nice sit down on a Friday. And what we'll tell people, stay tuned. Debbie will inform us where next, how we doing this, and we will be up for talking some more Kaiso.
Right,
so to close off the session, we could probably get on radical for all.
Bye-bye, Deborah.
All right.
All right, so gentlemen, have a good night. Be safe.
That's right.
destroy the